Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It is CoachFury here and we are back today with the latest episode of our Chicago Bulls Let's Play series of Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball 21. And well, as we've sort of discussed last time, we are going to try and see if we can retain our championship crown this year. We're going to give it one season, see if we can, and that's the focus. We are deep in the off season. We have got through the draft, which I have to say was probably a fairly weak draft on the analysis that I had to look at in between this episode and the last one. And well, we're in a situation really where we've got some quite interesting things to do this off season. Really, as you can see, we've only got several players on our books at this moment in time. We did go through the renouncements last time in terms of what players we want to free up some cap for, what ones we necessarily want to retain. And we came to a decision that a lot of the bench players that we had, we're going to renounce and see if we can get them back. There's no point holding their contracts because the way that obviously the bird right years working in pro basketball is that if they have over sort of over 3 years of bird rights, then you can obviously offer that extra year. So that's what we've done essentially for Kobe White. We've got 3 years worth of bird rights with him. It means we can offer that additional year and hopefully still lock him up. He's an interesting player. He's one that I think, looking at it now, going into next season, he's one that I think we'll probably might use as a trade chip if we can retain him, to be honest. He's kind of developed into a pretty okay guard, I would say. He's never going to be a starting point guard or a starting shooting guard, I don't think, for any team. But he's sort of in that nice six-man role where he can sort of play some guard minutes at point guard, some at shooting guard, and kind of go from there. But obviously Elfrid Payton, you're probably wondering, well, why have we retained Elfrid Payton? He's only got 2 years on his bird years. Well, the simple reason is that we are massively over the salary cap. You can see here we're 22 million over. Even if I renounced him along with Kobe White, we're not going to get a huge amount of salary back. We'd only get $12 million in sort of contract cap space left, which is not going to be enough to bring in my opinion, the same type of players as Elfrid Payton or Kobe White. So that's why we've done it. We're going to be looking and focusing on probably bringing Payton back is kind of a primary goal for us. He is our starting point guard and was a key defensive guard for us in the championship run. And then obviously the big name for us that we've got to focus on this offseason in terms of free agency is Brandon Clark. And he is a restricted free agent. We have exercised his rights. So we do have basically a first opportunity to bring him back. And we'll sort of play it by ear and see how that goes. I mean, realistically, he's probably going to want something similar to Wendell Carter and Jaren Jackson Jr., in terms of the $20 million or range, I think. So we'll look at that. And then obviously last episode, we had our draft and we brought in Charlie Dieter, who, to be perfectly honest with you, will be lucky if he gets any playing time from us. I think we'll find better bench players for him there. So we'll see how it goes with him, and we'll keep an eye on it. And obviously, the first way we're going to keep an eye on him really is through the summer, the summer league, which is what we've got to focus on now before we get to free agency. So Charlie Dieter, obviously you are going to be assigned to summer league. I'm going to let Patrick Williams play summer league, and obviously Jenkins. They're sort of the 3 guys that need sort of some time. I mean, Patrick Williams is sort of an interesting enigma. I mean, we've talked about him a lot on this Let's Play series, and I think realistically his career is going to end up being a power forward, and I think that's where we're probably going to utilise him this year if we can't bring in the type of depth at that position that I necessarily would want to bring in. As for Tony Jenkins, he's probably a bit unlucky in the sense that he's arrived on a team where we had Kobe White, we had Elfrid Payton, and we had other guys that I think we brought in on, experienced veteran guys we brought in on minimum deals last season, which basically meant he was down in the D League, in the G League, sorry. And well, he did okay there. He wasn't particularly electric when he came up. I think he played an odd game or two, which it doesn't seem to have recorded here. But his first 2 seasons in the league have been basically in the G League, where he's been playing pretty well. And maybe he gets a chance this year again if we can't bring anyone in. But we are in the summer league, so obviously the key focus for us is we need to see if there's any really, I guess, players who might be of interest to us to maybe bring in on sort of those minimum deals. So obviously immediately I'm going to be looking at the jump shooting capability of people and a bit of defense really, because that's how we spotted a couple of guys previously, and that's how we're going to do it again this year. So doesn't look like there's any real good shooters. I mean, I'll bring in aside Joe. He looks like he could be a interesting player for us. And let's keep scrolling down this list. Not many good shooters from what I can see in terms of the jump shooting skill. So we're going to be quite limited in that. Obviously, it looks like the league has locked down a lot of those players now. Have we got anyone who can play some good defense? That's always interesting for us to have a look at. Good defense in sort of the front court positions is particularly handy. I don't think there's a lot really to say in terms of that. It doesn't look like there's many really interesting players. Got 7'5" guys, blimey. Okay, I don't know. Let's have a look. Have we got anyone who's got any sort of skills that we might necessarily want to just explore a little bit? Yeah, it looks pretty weak. These I guess these ex-draftees that have come in, not going to get a lot of interest. I mean, I'll bring in the top shooters. We might as well, just so we give them a little bit of a chance. We can see if they actually are good shooters or not. And I think that's pretty much where we're going to be limited in terms of invites. I'll let the AI, I think, pick the rest. Unless there's any really good rebounders. There's not many good, really outstanding players. I mean, I'll bring Tony Denny's in. He looks like he could maybe do something. Bruno Fernando, I'll give you a go as well. Why not? And I'll let the AI, I think, pick the rest. So we'll advance to Summer League. We're not going to necessarily look at Summer League in too much detail because we don't really have any players that I'm necessarily worried about seeing. We'll probably do a bit of a recap, and as we sim through, I'm not necessarily going to go in and actually look at it or do any lineup adjustments for this episode. I think the main thing for us is free agency. I want to get to that and spend a bit of quality time there and actually looking at our options and deciding on what we're going to do there. It looks like we've not particularly done very well in Summer League. We're 1-4 anyway, so that's pretty much sums up where we are with that. I mean, obviously, if we go back a couple of seasons, we had our starters pretty much in Summer League, and I think we won the Summer League, I believe, in maybe the second season or so. Right, let's have a quick look at the stats of the Summer League guys then. So Jenkins played pretty well, it looks like. Some assists. He's basically was our top scorer alongside Patrick Williams. Not surprising, Patrick Williams had a good Summer League. He's probably a little bit too good to go into Summer League at this point. In terms of the shooting ability, nothing majorly standing out in terms of the guys we brought in. I mean, Isaiah Joe looked like he could shoot a bit, but I mean, elsewhere he's not going to be able to nail down any minutes if you compare him to some of the other guys we could probably get. Yeah, okay. I don't think there's anyone that's really standing out for us in Summer League, so we will move on. Let's take a look at the emails. We've got a few things, obviously, that we've got to read. But I guess the big one, let's have a look at free agency evaluation and see who the top players are in this free agency class. So we've obviously got Kyrie Irving. I mean, these are guys we're not going to be able to bring in. We just don't have the salary to do it. But interesting that he's available. We've all got Jay Morant is obviously a free agent, a restricted free agent in this one. Jokic still looking pretty good, putting up good numbers. Bradley Beal might actually move out of Washington. That would be a nice one to see where he goes. Then Bede, Williamson's obviously just now just a legitimate star, and then Harden, obviously Clark. Interesting that from Clark's perspective, he's looking for better talent, but that's probably because we don't have anyone on the roster at this moment in time, so that's fine. Majority of these look like very similar. Yeah, okay, so it's an interesting talent. We'll go into the actual free agency screen and have a look and see what the position is. So in terms of those top guys, obviously we looked down some of them. There's Clark, obviously he's up there. Capella, Butler. So some interesting veterans as well, like talented veterans I would say as well, which is interesting. So what are we going to do? I think the immediate thing is we are going to see if, we'll leave Brandon Clark for a minute. We'll go through maybe one or two phases and just see what type of offers he is getting. But I'm conscious that I might want to maybe lock him down on a bit of a cheaper contract than possibly others might offer him. So we'll need to bear that in mind. Actually, I'm changing my mind with this, because the advantage obviously of having a restricted free agent is that you can, one, wait and see what offers they get if you're confident they're not going to get maybe max offers, and maybe steal him off the market at a cheaper price from that perspective. The other thing we could probably do, which is what I'm thinking of doing now, is essentially offering Brandon Clark a deal now, seeing whether we come out as the top team in that perspective, and adjust from there. So I think for Brandon Clark, a fair contract, in my opinion, is $20 million. We can offer, I don't know, 5% raise over that period, and we can maybe throw in we'll leave the options for now. I think if we got him at $20 million for 5 years, we are absolutely laughing. So I'm going to offer him that. We'll see what other offers he gets. And then for Peyton, so Peyton's the key one as well that we don't necessarily want to lose. So I think we need to go in there and just basically offer him the deal. And it's crazy to think that we had him locked down for, what was it, about 11 million a couple of seasons ago. And now he's kind of demanding sort of 20 million. So I think we're going to go in with a $20 million offer, $20 million offer, I think, for those 4 years. And again, same sort of deal as Clark. Whoops, I forgot to put the extra zero on. There we go. So we'll do that and offer that over 4 years. Again, he'd be 33 when he comes off of it. But I'll throw a player option for him. That might give him a bit more enticement because it's slightly under what his value is. Maybe we'll go a little bit more aggressive with him. We'll go 18 million. And we'll make it okay, we can only offer 7.5 for him. So if we did that and then we offer him a player option in there, so slightly under market, but we'll see if we can entice him back on that deal. Obviously, the key thing for us is we are looking to try and win a championship again this year, so money is a little bit less of an issue in terms of we're well over the cap anyway. We've just got to spend and see how we get on. So I think for now, unless we can we offer in a mid exception at the minute? We can. I think for now we'll just advance the phases, and then I think we'll then start looking at bench players and what other things we've got. But I'm interested to understand what those two are thinking. And obviously we have got Kobe White we've got to think about as well. But if Kobe White signs a max dollar deal now and moves at this point, I'll be surprised after 1 day. So obviously no surprise that Zion Williams has taken a max deal to immediately go back to the Pelicans. That's really not surprising. Let's see if we can find Kobe White. I think that's probably we probably need to throw him a deal now as well. So he's looking for 20 million as well. So we can obviously offer him 5 years. So I think again we'll go with him. We'll go 20 over the 5 years at 5%. And I think with him we'll offer him an early termination option. So basically what that means, I think it's in year 3 he has the option to basically opt out of that deal and go basically go and find another deal if he thinks he can get paid more. And $20 million for Kobe White is probably well over what he's worth. But I don't think we're going to necessarily get anyone better than him. So we need to basically make sure we try and lock these guys down. So in terms of Brandon Clark, he's still got Houston as his top team. I'm guessing Houston must have a lot of cap to be able to throw around. We'll check that in a second. And then obviously Elfrid Payton, Houston is the top team. So if we go to finances, Houston just got a lot of cap. Yeah, they've got 91 million. So they are the biggest cap holders. So we need to see actually. And the Pistons as well. So we need to kind of really wait and see what Houston do, who they're going to try and entice out. But I think we've got some fair offers in there. If we lost Kobe White at 20 million, we lost Elfrid Payton at 20 million, I think we could probably live with that. But I want to just, we're being a bit aggressive with our money here. We are going to go completely over the luxury tax implications. I think we already are. And we'll see how it goes from there. And obviously, as soon as we see Houston sign anyone, we can change some of these contract values down. So the Nets have signed Irving back. Again, not really surprising. He's on a big deal. Let's take a look at our guys. That's the key thing we just need to keep an eye on. Houston is still chasing Clark, it looks like. And then Kobe White. Houston is still after him. And Elfrid Payton. So they're all basically waiting to see what Houston does with their money. And then I guess we're going to get a reaction from that. Okay, so Jay Morant has gone back. Slowly heating up. I guess a lot of the top younger guys are being retained and going back to their teams. Obviously, Harden, Embiid, Jokic, Beal, all still available. It does mean that our guys are looking in a better position for Houston at this moment in time. So I think we'll advance another day and see what happens. We just need to find out what Houston does. When Houston and the Pistons start making moves for players, then we can maybe adjust, I think, as I said. But we need to see who they're going to try and chase over first. So Oklahoma have signed a huge deal for Jabari Parker, who, to be frank, didn't get in our team when we had him. Which is really surprising he signed such a huge deal so early. But I would guess, if I'm Houston, I'm probably chasing Embiid, Jokic, Beal, I would imagine, and Harden, obviously. So obviously once they retain Harden, that's going to take a huge chunk of their change off. No signings on that date. Yeah, because Harden and Capella are still hanging around as well. So I'm going to be a little bit more bullish, I think, with Kobe White now. I think we change this down to 15. Let's change it down actually to 17 for 5 years, 5%. And obviously we'll put the early termination offer in there for him as well. But the other two, I'm going to keep us at their current contract amounts. Rolling the dice a little bit. I mean, we could have obviously paid them all maximum amounts and probably retained them by now. But we need to be a little bit sensitive of the cost. Still no further signings. Wow, you guys are really holding out here. We will advance another day, keep ourselves going. Either they're all going to just come at once, or we're going to get a trickle over the next few days. Okay, so Carmelo Anthony signed a minimum deal. The 76ers have thrown some cash at some of the bench players, and Bledsoe has re-signed with the Jazz, which is surprising because I don't think he was getting much playing time there. A lot of retained players at this stage. Nobody's really made a big move to a different team yet, which is a little bit of a worry because maybe are they targeting our Bulls players, and we'll have to wait and see. No signings again. Guys are holding out for big money still, I think. Okay, here we go. Right. So Harrison Barnes signed a deal with going back to the Kings. Dylan Brooks has gone back to the Grizzlies. Brandon Clark has signed the offer sheet with Houston. We are absolutely going to be matching that. Durant has gone back to a one-year deal with the Nets. Embiid has re-signed with the 76ers. Holiday signed a deal going back to the Knicks. And the Rockets have signed Jokic. Wow. And we've managed to retain ourselves Payton, which is kind of the big one outside of Clark, which is good. So we're obviously going to immediately match Brandon Clark's deal. I've just got to work out how to do that. We will match that offer, absolutely. So hopefully he's now back in our roster. He is. Fantastic. So we've sorted that one out. 2 of our main 3 guys are back, which is great. So it does mean that Houston has still got some money to throw around. I wonder where that's going to go now. They couldn't bring Clark in. Interesting. I guess they were going for a Jokic Clark sort of front court, was what I would guess. So, in terms of Kobe White, wow, the Pistons have dived in and decided that they're going to try and bring him back. Try and bring him to Detroit over from Chicago. I think we up the ante and we just go, look, 5 years, 20 million. I'll give you like a 3% raise then because of that. But I'll give you an early termination option. And hopefully that's enough to bring you back. And then we can start looking at the bench. Okay, so Kobe White is holding out. I'm not going to offer him any more than that, I don't think. But there's some interesting names still floating around at the top here, which makes me surprised that, there we go, I'm the top team now. So now we can start actively moving this back down, I think. Obviously, we don't want to trade too much for him, that's the question. We'll offer an early termination option on that. I think if we paid him around, in my opinion, I reckon 15 million is probably what he's ideally worth. So maybe if we output to 16 million and we go in there. So let's have a look at some of the top guys. So Detroit are chasing Beal. Houston are still trying to bring Harden back. Capella, interestingly, Atlanta are now chasing him now that Houston have got Jokic. Houston are still after Westbrook on a 1-year deal. Hero still looks like he's going back to Miami. So there's still some good names around here. I mean they're experienced names, but we'll see how it falls in a bit. We do have a mid exception though, so we could probably explore that now. The mid exception, I believe, is at 10 million, so we could try and bring someone in now. We'll have a little look and see what the demands are for some of these guys. We've got some restricted free agents there. Kemba Walker, still looking for huge amounts of money. He's not even that good now. John Wall, it's not particularly that good anymore. Bogdanovic is still looking for 13 million. Again, he's not a particularly great defender. Go to the next page and have a little look here. Again, Lowry's, some of the veterans have definitely dropped off at this stage. I mean, Chris Paul is certainly, I'm surprised he is still kind of hanging around as much as he is here. LeBron James is still around, but again, he's not particularly the same LeBron James as we currently see in real life. He's definitely a lot older. I mean, he's 39 and still playing. That's mad. I mean, it's certainly doable from his fitness in real life, but interesting that he's still here. So, what do we want to try and bring in? I mean, clearly options we need. We probably do need to bring in a backup guard, backup shooting guard, probably some front court players as well. So we do need a mix of a few things here. I'm still a huge fan of McLemore, despite his defense going pretty much off scale now. I mean, we do need shooting. Shooting is always something that we always desperately need to try and find. Like McLaughlin, he looks like he could be a fairly good option for us. I mean, Hardaway Jr. is still solid. I mean, he could basically play shooting guard for us. Certainly off the bench anyway. Wiggins is still looking for a huge deal. Yeah, Kevin Love's defense is certainly gone now at this point. yeah, it's not a lot that I'm really like overly excited about in this bottom half of the free agency area. Duncan Robinson is probably one that I would probably say we should throw some money at, just because he's just a good shooter. So maybe we go to Duncan Robinson and we offer him the mid exception for the season, and we'll see how that goes, and then we can use the other exceptions that we've got at a later stage. But if we got Duncan Robinson, I mean, Bogdanovic is the other option, but I think Duncan Robinson's still a slightly better defender. I probably would only play him at small forward though. I wouldn't deploy him anywhere else, but it might be a nice option for us. I mean, in terms of our starting rotation, we're pretty much set. So we've managed to sign Robinson, which is great. Kobe White is still holding out, so we'll see how that situation is looking. But some big moves here. Bradley Beal has gone to Golden State. Jimmy Butler has re-signed with the Miami. Andrew Wiggins has gone to the Pistons, and Widener's re-signed. VanVleet's re-signed. Miles Turner has gone over to the Nuggets. So some big names again have moved and fallen down into teams now, which means that Harden and Capella are still hanging around, and we are certainly leading on the Kobe White one. So we will knock that down to about 14 million. I think we'll play the game with him. We'll offer him 14 million with an early termination option. You know, if we can save ourselves $6 million, you know, granted we're only playing for one more season, we should still try. So we do have a low level exception still to play with, and we do have many positions we need to get in really. So in terms of what do we care about, we really, I think we've got a shooting now. We can bring Macklemore back. I think, granted he's not particularly a good defender anymore, but I'll take him on a minimum salary deal, certainly. Trey Jones, we do need a backup point guard, and we do need just some bodies in the front court really. So what experienced guys have we still got hanging around? That's the question. Who can actually still play a bit. So Noel might be an option. He's obviously can only score inside. Efficient, can play a bit of defense, block a bit, I guess, is maybe an option. Robert Williams could be an interesting pickup. He's not particularly a good rebounder though. Christian Wood draws fouls pretty well, could be an option. Trying to think who whether any of the guys that we had previously are still around. Should have a look at that as well. So I think Noel might be our play. We'll offer him a minimum deal, I think. Try and see if we can get him in. Christian Wood. He's not a great rebound, that's the problem. I mean, Jordan could probably still do a little bit. We'll offer him a minimum deal. See if that can hopefully look up some of our challenges in terms of just getting some front court bodies in. In terms of where do we want to throw our low level exception, that's the question. We can sort of see what's out there and throw it around a bit. We could try and get Bogdanovic. I mean, that would be a pretty tidy pickup just as another shooter. Maybe we'll do that. We'll throw him a deal there. I'll throw Hardaway Jr. a minimum deal, I think, as well. Not particularly the point guard, backup point guard that I necessarily would want. And we could bring in James. We could throw James at the minimum deal. Why not? See if we can entice him. I liked Robert Williams as well, actually. We'll try and bring him in. Do need a backup guard though, and I don't really see one. I like your shooting, McLaughlin. You can come in. See if we can bring you back. Well, not bring you back, bring you in. I think we've got anyone who can actually handle the ball. Tyus Jones, no. TJ McConnell, we had you last year. We can offer you a deal as well. And I think we'll advance ourselves forward here. A little bit of thinking needed in that one. Just thinking about what type of players we need. That's the difficulty when you're not looking at the elite players. And you really need to think about what type of players you want. And clearly, for us, we need shooting, we need defense, and we need guys who can kind of fill gaps for us on the front court. So we didn't get Tim Hardaway. He signed a big deal with the Nuggets. The Rockets have re-signed James Harden. Wood has gone to the Clippers in a big deal as well, so we didn't get him. So a couple of names that we were chasing there got slightly bigger deals than I'd anticipated. But there's still some names flying around, certainly. I mean, we might as well throw some offers in some of these guys and just see if anything sticks, to be honest. Kobe White is still holding out. I mean, we could offer him 13. 5% Oh, 0 too many. Early termination option, in you go. We'll throw. You're a minimum deal. Why not? Throw him. Max, if I mean, we're not going to get these guys, but we might as well throw them in some offers and just see what happens. You never know. Given that we are the champions from last season, we might entice a guy or two who to possibly take a slight pay cut to just come over with us. So we'll advance again. Okay, lots of signings here. So tender offer for Barrett. Baisley is signed for the Rockets. The Rockets have thrown lots of money around. We didn't get Bogdanovic. Clearly, he was going for far too much money. Hero's gone to the Pistons. Wow. Okay, so they Miami decided not to match that deal. Lowry signed a deal. Okay, so lots of names being moved around there. Still some interesting names available. Kobe White is still around. we're still the top offer, so we're not going to change that one. I think we're now bordering on sort of the mid-level exception, so we need to make sure we're above that. And I think we'll just advance forward another day and see what lands. Okay, LeBron James has taken a $10 million deal. Clint Capella has re-signed with the Hawks. Aldridge taken a minimum deal. Saric has taken a pretty nice deal for him, actually. But Kobe White, you are still not signing with us. Why is that? You know what, I'll up you to 14 million. And we'll do it over 5 years. 5%. We'll up it. I'll offer you the early termination offer as well. And we'll go from there. See if we can get that. We want to get that one sort of tied up now at this point and go to the bench players. I appreciate this episode is actually running a little bit over the normal time frame, but free agency is proving a little bit of a challenge for us. So we managed to get White back in. That's great. We didn't get McLaughlin. He signed a bigger deal, and everyone else is still available that we're after. So that's good. So we've still got some interesting players to add to our bench: Jordan, Nelwell, Wall, Williams, and so on. Yeah, I think we'll leave it as is at the minute and keep moving forward another day. Some of these guys have got to land eventually with us. Okay. So we didn't get John Wall. He signed for the Pistons for a pretty sizable deal. Paul has gone over to the Bucks. Hero has signed a huge deal in the end. They managed to get something done there. And everyone else is still hanging around. So it does mean that we've still got there's still plenty of talent available. It's just whether they'll actually land with us is kind of the question I'm asking myself at the minute. I think we'll carry on another day. Not going to make any adjustments. There's no point. We kind of just need guys to lock down now, and then we'll just react based on if we sign them or not. Okay, lots of signings now. So Biombo went to the Kings in a bigger deal than we'd offered. DeAndre Jordan's he's gone to the 76ers. We didn't get him. We got McConnell back. That's good. We got McMahon. We got Noel. Okay, so we got a couple of good players. Williams signed a bigger deal to go to the Pelicans. So what does that leave us looking like? So in terms of our roster, let's have a quick look. Have we got full depth chart now? We don't. We have one more slot left. Okay. So in terms of the backcourt positions, we're pretty much set, I think. I would like to bring in another guard, I think. Unless we do reconsider our approach and put Duncan Robinson in at shooting guard, despite the fact he can't pass very well. I think we do need another front court player, though. If we get any injuries to these guys. Obviously, Clark goes into small forward. Yeah, I do think we need another front court player. That's what I think we are going to be trying to chase here. Just a question of whether there's anyone who's actually any good in the front court. So let's get rid of these positions because we don't want them. And realistically, what do we want? We want anyone who can kind of do a bit of rebounding, a bit of blocking. That's the kind of thing we're after. Brook Lopez, you do like a 3-point shot there, that's the problem. You are a pretty good defender though, not the best rebounder. Taco Fall would be interesting, but I don't think he's the right type of player for us at this stage. Anyone who can draw fouls is always interesting to me. Fouls and a bit of defense is normally a pretty good combination. Mr. Jacob Poetel, you look like you could probably do that role for us, I think. So we will offer you a deal. And we'll just check there's no one that's really standing out as just a talent that's just sitting there that we can maybe take advantage of and bring in. No, not really. Okay, let's see if we can get Poetel into the team. I mean, I think that's going to round up our free agency. And there he is. Nice. So we've managed to bring him in. And that is now our roster complete. So we've had a bit of a change around in terms of the bench rotation. We've managed to bring back Kobe White, Elfrid Payton, Brandon Clark, you know, key players in terms of our rotation last year. We also brought back Macklemore, who didn't play a lot for us last year. Well, didn't play for us that much. Probably is not going to play a great deal for us this year, but he's a good shooter, which is kind of what we like to bring in. I guess the biggest move that we brought in was Duncan Robinson, who we're paying a big amount of money to basically just be a shooter for us. And then we've added to the front court, we've added Nerlens Noel and Jacob Poetel. So a slightly different front court look for us this season. And that brings us to the end of this episode. What do you guys think? How do you think free agency went for us in the Chicago Bulls? Is this enough to retain the title probably? Are there any other gaps that we maybe look to address? Maybe some trades in the season? We can certainly explore that. But always interested to hear your thoughts. And if you're enjoying the episodes and you want to keep up to date as they come out every single week, hit that like and subscribe button. You can get a notification as soon as the videos come out. But we'll see next time how we get on at the start of the season.